Well, I'm here with Mike Raymond. Mike, it's great to see you, owner, founder of Raymond Representation, proud Miami Law graduate.
Yes, sir. What's up, my man?
We're here at Art Basel, Museum of Graffiti, Nucleus. Great collaboration.
Thank you for inviting us out here.
Yeah,
'Cause
big.
it's hard to get me in Miami these days. It's like a joke in our friend group. Like they're like, Michael's going to drive to Miami tonight. They know I just won't come out here anymore.
I mean, you can feel the energy in the city, though, especially around
Yeah.
Wynwood. Just walking here, it's
For sure.
it's a great time. So, let's just start off with your journey to law school. You went to UCF. I mean, our paths first crossed.
Yeah.
You had connected through our director of student recruitment, Therese Lambert, as like a sophomore or junior at UCF.
I believe it was a sophomore, and I remember meeting you. I remember actually driving down from Orlando to come to Miami to meet her. I met you, and you were a busy man at the time, but I got to meet you for like 5-10 minutes, and from there I just kept building a relationship with both of you guys, and it was incredible. And I think I told you the day I met you was like I wanted to go to Miami.
Yeah.
I knew I always wanted to go there. My parents went to Miami from here, and thank God I did, because it was the best decision I ever made. But it's been feels like forever ago, but it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, and I remember like early on, there are a few, you meet a lot of people, and something about you was your dedication and drive. At the time, it was law school, and also but thriving at UCF. I mean, the major that was the minor that was major,
Yeah.
sports
Shout out.
business, and
Yeah.
you
Shout
were
out to Buckstein.
and you were president
Yeah.
two-time president, if I remember the
Yeah,
club.
yep, two-time president, and I was in charge of about 400 to 500 students.
Yep.
And we used to go on yearly trips to meet with GMs and agents, and
Yeah.
that's really where I started to fall in love with like sport and entertainment. And I used to sit in Buckstein's office, and I used to say, listen, I think I should be a lawyer first.
Yeah,
And I always wanted to be a lawyer first, and
yeah,
but the biggest difference was when I went to law school, I knew that I wasn't going to be a traditional lawyer.
right.
I knew that I wanted to work in the agent space,
Right.
and I just got there and did my thing.
So going through law school, like, COVID hit when you were in law school, and what was that pivot point for you when you just said, because you started your agency while you were in law school. I mean,
Yeah.
that says a
It was
lot. I
crazy.
mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
What was that moment?
It was interesting. I the second we were going into our second year, as you know, everything was shut down, classes were shut down, we were all online. At the same time, I was looking for job opportunities like everybody else. I was talking to some of the bigger agencies, connections that I had in the space. The MBPA was something of interest, and overnight, everything just went away. They're like, we have COVID, we're not hiring right now. You could do something remote maybe in a couple of months, but that was about it. And at that time, I was very hungry. I was, really wanting to work in the agent space and start to get some experience in that area. I felt like I was ready. I had the right connections, and I had a lot of athletes in my circle. And I overnight just said, you know what? Why not start helping them now? I didn't have to be an agent. I didn't have to have certifications. I said, I see a lot of things that their agents are not doing, which, to speak on some of those things, are like brand deals, a camp in the summertime, a charity collaboration, and even just talking about like investing in, starting a business and a merch line, things like that, pre-NIL.
Yeah.
Basically NIL, but before NIL existed.
Right.
And, I started doing that, and that's really how it all started. And then, fast forward 5-6 months, didn't make any money, but started to build a nice little network for myself. And all my boys were like, yo, you should be our agents. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should. So I ended up taking the agent license exam in law school, and I did that strategically because I knew once I graduated, we'd have the bar and all that stuff, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But I took it, passed, signed a couple of clients right away, and that's how it all started. And then, obviously it's changed a lot since that moment, but that's how it all started.
And you said you weren't going to be a traditional lawyer. You knew that, as you were going through law school. But what are the skills from law school that you use in every day of running your business and growing the business?
Yeah, so many. So everybody always asks me, it's like the number one question I get is like, do you need to be a lawyer to be an agent? Yeah. And, I always say, no, you don't. But it helps a lot. It helps a lot. Yeah. I think, law school is a whole different beast than traditional undergrad. The leadership abilities that you get, having to speak on topics right on the spot, cold calling, things like that. Even just the reading and the research and the studying is a way different animal than an undergrad. Like
time management, right?
Yeah, time management. I mean, I never read books more than in that 3-year span. So, I think just shifting your mindset of like what you're capable of. And honestly, not every school can say this, but Miami specifically, the networking.
Yeah.
The networking in the circle and the alumni that you guys have
Right.
is exactly why I wanted to go there from day one. In sport and entertainment, I think it's the best school in the country.
Oh,
Shout out to Miami. I'm giving them a lot of shout outs today. But
we try and have a practical focus to a lot of our specialized courses, and I know you took courses like, representing the professional athlete, Professor Carfagna, negotiating and drafting sports venue, the sports leadership course with Coach Trustman.
Loved it.
What were some of those skills that you think you got there that were industry specific that have helped you?
Yeah, well, I don't think you can learn this job, right? Like there's no blueprint to be an agent. An agent connects the dots, protects their clients. So, for example, in Carfanga's class, just being able to see some of those contracts as a law student and break them down and get advice from him and, see how one word can change everything in a contract, and things like that. So like it was just all really cool stuff. And then, even in Coach Trustman's class, like the leadership, just the leadership abilities alone in that class and speaking to students and getting up in front of a bunch of people and telling our stories the first day that we had to get a little bit vulnerable. Like our narrative and things like that. It was just an incredible time, and those sports and entertainment classes were my favorite part of law school.
So we talk a little in that class about failures and what you've learned from failures. Have there been any moments in your career where, you may have got knocked off the ledge, and how have you propelled that to all the success that you've had?
Yeah, plenty. This business is like shark eats shark. It's very difficult to be successful. So I'm very thankful that we are successful, but just dealing with other agencies and the money that you go against and the networks they have. And, listen, I'm competing against billion-dollar corporations, for the same clientele.
Right.
And, on top of that, you're working with thousands and thousands of brands and marketing agencies that have other contacts at other agencies as well. So it's how can you differentiate yourself? Yeah. Like for us, I always tell my team and everybody that works for me, it's not about the one deal, it's about getting 20.
Right.
And the way you get 20 is by building a genuine and authentic relationship with those people and being different. And, everybody says, oh, you're young, you're new, but I actually use that to my advantage. Yeah. I think NIL, these college kids, they want people in their corner that are relatable to them. Yeah. Guys that know social media, that know, hey, we're going to do a brand deal with Taco Bell and like what they should film, what kind of content they should make, things like that. And no disrespect to the agency space, but a lot of the agents that have been in the game for a while are old school, 50, 60-year-old lawyers that are very old school, contractually, hardcore guys and things like that. And I think the business is changing dramatically. Yeah. And it's been good for us. So
you just said something there about it's not about the one deal, it's about the 20 more you're going to do. And I actually want to I remember in the leadership class we were lucky enough to have Alex Rodriguez join us, and cool. he had said that I think he called it like the 90-10 rule, where he's like, he
talked about not dropping the hammer the first deal. Right. And it's exactly what we do. Right. I even tell my clients, I'm like, listen, we don't need to get every dollar out of them. Yep. What's $1,000 going to change? Right. Let's get a deal done for both sides. Let's kill it and do a phenomenal job. And they're going to come drooling back to us 3 times a year, 100%. 4 times a year. We do it all day long. So, that's.
So let's talk a little bit about relationships, because I think what has given you so much success earlier on, this is just my opinion, but I think it's true, is how good you are at developing relationships and authentic relationships. Again, another topic we hit in that leadership course, but relationships with your clients, relationships with brands. Talk about the importance of that to you.
It's everything.
And
Yeah, it's everything. This business is summed up with one word: relationships. Yeah. It's everything. Having a relationship with your client. That was an interesting thing for me, because I still go through this now. It's a little bit of that imposter syndrome, because I'm so young. Thank God. I don't feel like it all the time, but you know, like I'm the same age as a lot of my clients.
Yeah.
You know, I have people working for me that are older than me.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting used to like the leadership and having to like, you know, run a business and pay the bills and
Yeah.
do all these things. And then I have clients that are calling me for certain things that they need in life. And I'm like, I haven't even dealt with that yet, you know?
Right.
So that was a very interesting thing for me. But the key for that was just surrounding myself with the right people, like having the right people in my corner to answer all those questions.
Totally.
That's something that thankfully early on I always did. And, you know, Buxton used to say, and I say this very humbly, but I was very good at building community at school. And that's what I always was good at doing. So, you know, that's what I do now. And then, you know, like I said before, the relationships with the brand agencies and even with other agents.
Yeah.
We work with other agents all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a partner in the basketball world who's my go-to guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know, so just building genuine relationships and finding ways to add value to each other is very important.
So I want to take you to July 2021, which was the day that NIL, name, image, and likeness, became a thing. And you know, I feel like at some level this also you know, became a lane that you accelerated in. I mean, you saw it, and there was very little traffic, you know, or now there's a lot more.
Yeah.
But you really put your foot on the accelerator. Talk a little bit about the opportunity that gave you and what you saw in that space that you so well capitalized.
Yeah, so first of all, that day, I'll never forget it because I was sitting in my Brickell apartment probably for 8 hours with a former intern law student at Miami, Greg Levy. And Andres, we were talking about everybody. We talked to probably 40 plus student athletes and their parents. And I can't lie to you, we acted like we knew what we were doing, but nobody knew what they were doing.
Right.
And we said, listen, we want to represent your son or your daughter. We could bring them brand deals and opportunities, and we have all these connections. And you know, I think what had us a little bit confident was that we had influencers that we were working with already.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty similar space, right? It's brand deals, endorsements, appearances, things like that. So we ended up getting pretty lucky with a couple of you know, star-studded talent that we didn't know at the time, but Trinity Thomas, best gymnast in the country, in my opinion, the world.
Yeah.
Colin Castleton at the Gators and Cam Augusti at Miami and just all these different people. And next thing you know, we have 10 clients and we're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And we just figured it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me though, the reason why I thought NIL was going to be really interesting for us was this. I knew that the basketball agent space that I originally wanted to be in was getting oversaturated. Everybody wanted to go to law school, be an agent, get basketball players, but I already had a taste of it. And it's a world that is very difficult to break into. You know, you're not getting a first round pick unless you got 6-7 figures, you know, ready to go. You know, you're not getting, you know, once a guy pops up and starts playing well, you're going to lose him to a big agency. There's not a lot of loyalty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of expenses and things that come with like pre-draft and stuff like that. So I was like, let's be different. Everybody wants to be a basketball agent or a football agent. Like this is like a new door for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, on top of that, with the influencer space that we were in, I was like, the opportunity is massive. I mean, these guys are making 6-7 figures.
Sure.
You're telling me college students are going to be able to make this now?
Sure.
What we didn't know is that we would create this niche for ourselves, which is the athlete creator, you know, that college athlete creator, which are the kind of clients we want to sign. Now, obviously, do we want like a star quarterback or a star basketball player? Of course.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of success with social media creator college athletes.
And I think you guys have it so right, and you guys have excelled in this area because you understand what the brands want. And all brands today want content, right? They need content created. They've shifted their traditional marketing budgets to online social content creators. And the athlete as a content creator is a really, really, really unique.
It is new.
I mean, if you look at the metrics on it, the conversion rates on athletes in terms of their engagement
are better than influencers.
Much better.
Yeah, much better.
And
And I think what's really interesting too, and I actually did a post on this last week. NIL is not for everybody. Like doing TikToks and Instagram videos and social media is not for everybody.
Yeah.
There's basketball players that we've worked with. They don't want to do that stuff.
Right. Right.
You know, there's football players. They just want to play football and go to the NFL and make a lot of money.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And what we say to those guys, you know, especially if they want to work with us, there's other things that we can do to take advantage of the NIL space.
Yeah.
It's not just about brand deals and endorsements. It's how can we help you create a foundation and a Rolodex for yourself while you're in college for the next 3 to 4 years. You are the most marketable and the most known person that you're going to be, unless you're a star in the NFL or the NBA right now.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, Andre's here, like, he's done meet and greets for our clients. We've done charity collaborations, Make-A-Wish, Toys for Tots, Boys and Girls Clubs, all those things, and then it's like things like this, right? Like, how do we get them in the room to meet the right people, shake the right hands? Like, all those things provide tremendous value for these athletes. And I'm telling them, obviously not all of them listen, but I'm like, these are things that you're going to do as an adult and as an NFL and NBA player. This is your testing period.
Right.
This is where you can fail. You can meet a $100 million businessman who's an alumni of your school and, maybe have a weird conversation at first because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But they still love you because you're the star of their school.
Right.
So it's like it's a great learning experience. I think that the kids that really take it seriously and go full in, it's worth it. But again, like I said, we've had clients that just want to go to the NBA, just want to go to the NFL, and that's okay.
So as NIL continues to roll out, I mean, there are so many. I think honestly, there's so much grayness in the space. Like, right?
Yeah.
I
Still.
mean, and where do you see this going in the future? I mean, we just saw a new proposal on the table the other day by head of the NCAA in terms of creating a subdivision and.
I actually like that proposal. They said that the schools were going to maybe start paying the athletes directly and doing stuff with them.
And they can hire them for their own NIL deals. They can essentially.
And I like that they had the Title IX talk with that as well and keeping it equal. I know they even had a mention in that article that like the minimum would be $30,000 equally given to every student athlete. Which is very interesting. I like that as well because I'll tell you right now, we've had student athletes that are not getting deals with their collectives.
Yeah.
And the girls are definitely underappreciated by far.
Yep.
To me, I've said this since day one after seeing the success, I think the female athletes are going to be the stars of the show.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, look at the numbers in terms of the investment in women's sports this year, right?
I just think that I'm just going from my personal experience, right? We do about 35 to 40 deals a month. 90% of them they're asking for female athletes first. And, look at the success of the Cavender twins, Angel Reese, Paige Buckers. Those are girls that are making millions of dollars in NIL. They might not necessarily go to the WNBA, but brands are just going to be drooling to work with them. And, we've had a lot of success with male athletes as well, but I just think that the girls just focus a little bit more on social media. They showcase their personality a little bit more. And I think they're going to be the stars. Obviously, the quarterbacks and the star NBA draft guys are going to get deals too and do their thing. But I think the brands really enjoy working with female athletes.
Now, for those people who are working in the social media space, and particularly with influencers or athletes on NIL, one of the things I constantly hear about is the most difficult thing is consistency. With social media, you have to be consistent. You have to develop your voice. You have to develop your brand so that you can find the right brands and right deals to align with yourself and your values. And how do you talk to your clients about that, and particularly go back to time management? I mean, that's tricky.
No, it is. It's hard. So, we do what we can. We do what we can. We, every time we sign a new client, we always talk social media strategy first. We want them to know that we care and that we're trying to help them figure out ways to create content. We actually just had a meeting with a couple of clients literally this week about doing a weekly session of like your training, or like when you travel to a new team, like what does that day in the life look like? And kind of creating like a content, like weekly,
that's awesome.
Strategy for yourself. So people, I always say there's 3 pillars, like figure out 3 pillars that you can do. Like it could be your sport, it could be your family, it could be fashion, and stick to those pillars. Consistency though is the hardest part because time management, like you said, these athletes are busy, man. They got class. They got sleeping, sport, training, working,
and then now running their own businesses.
And that's why if you're big enough, I think it's worth signing with an agent or with an agency that you could trust because we handle all of the communication and all the back and forth and helping you guys.
Does that conversation come up a lot where student athletes or their families that you're talking to ask, "Why do I even need an agent?"
It's happened before. It's happened before. I mean. At this point, though, like, we know our worth, so we have that conversation. But, it does happen because at the end of the day, the bigger you are and the better, a lot of brands come to you. But I don't think that necessarily means you don't need an agent because an agent's job is to protect. So you could get, we've seen plenty of contracts that are taking advantage of athletes and have terrible language. And,
Yeah.
you know, if you don't want an agent, at least have a lawyer.
Yeah.
Or have
Yeah,
somebody in your corner that's going to guide you in the right direction. Because
Advocate. And I think like part of what we're trying to do in the entertainment, arts, and sports law program is create a new generation of lawyers and advocates for creators, for athletes, for artists,
yeah.
who break down that barrier. Because a lot of times there's a intimidation factor. Oh, I have to go to a lawyer. That's expensive. That's intimidating. There's a high barrier to
There's a
entry.
stigma against agents too. It's been
Yeah.
that way for years. And I think, you know, for us, it's like we don't charge retainers. We don't charge a bunch of money. We eat what we kill.
Yeah.
We take a commission
Sure.
off deals we bring to you.
Sure.
And, you know, if you ever want us to review a contract or do something for you on the side that we weren't involved with, you think I'm going to say no to a client? Like,
Right.
of course not.
Right.
You know, so like, I see it as we're always there to help you and be your advocate, and we just want to look out for you and make sure you don't get in trouble and, you know,
Yeah.
do something that's bad. So.
All right, well, we'll wrap up here. A couple quick hitters for you.
Yeah.
So we're here in
This was
Miami,
great, by the way. I
Art
love it.
Basel Art Week here. What's your first artist that you remember seeing a piece from or liking? Or
So bad with this. You know what? I actually have an answer for you. You won't know, I'm sure, but I'm a big Eagles guy, as
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
There's an artist actually out of Philadelphia who I bought a Jalen Hurts custom breed of one piece, expensive piece. His name is Spectre Art on his Instagram. I don't know his first name, but Spectre Art.
Okay.
And he specializes in Philadelphia sports,
Oh, cool.
like custom art pieces, and all the stuff he does is sick.
All right.
So like I've bought from him like a couple of times, even since I was like in high school.
Oh, awesome.
So-
Spectre Art. We'll check it out.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's cool.
What's a favorite brand deal you've ever done?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question. I think the Super Bowl collaboration, because you know, the fact that last year we not only got to go to the Super Bowl, I got to go to the game. The Eagles were in it. You know, they lost, but it was a phenomenal experience. We were with Juju Smith-Schuster. We were with AJ, my client, and we had a deal with Subway and with Gatorade and with the NFL itself.
Yeah.
You know, which was really cool. They actually got us like an Airbnb, and that was a pretty cool experience.
What's the one thing you want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Wow, phenomenal question. So many answers to that. I would just say I'd say my number one goal for 2024 is to get a heavy hitter NBA or NFL star client.
Okay.
That's my goal. Not money, no money goals.
If that's your goal, you're going to do it because everything you've put out there.
That's our goal.
You've
Jimmy Butler, you can call us.
Well, you know, and you know, we forgot to mention earlier, SBJ named you guys, you know, top 20 NIL agencies, right?
Yeah, that was cool. And
Really?
Business Insider just actually followed up again with us that they're going to put us on a list this year.
Amazing.
So,
The accolades will continue to roll in. If you haven't heard of Mike Raymond and Raymond Representation, you will soon. Major force in the space. What you've accomplished in just a few years is absolutely incredible. The athlete as influencer, the athlete as a creator. You've done it before anyone, in my opinion. I mean, you've recognized that.
And let me say one thing to all you guys. You know, if you ever have mentors or people in your life, this is my friend now, but you were, you know, still a mentor to me. And one of the reasons why I went to University of Miami was because of this guy. And, you know, if you're lucky enough to have good people in your corner who believe in you and you believe in them and you can build stuff together, you know, there's nothing better in your life. So, you know.
Somebody said this, Christine Simmons, who was a former COO of the Oscars and the president of the LA Spark. She's an entrepreneur, an amazing person. She says that the best thing a mentor could do is speak your name when you're not in the room. You know,
1000%.
and you know, to everybody out there who's a mentor or mentoring somebody, I do think that is really important. You got to prop people up around you. So
100%. 100%.
Well, Mike, so much love. Thanks
Yeah,
so
let's
much for
do it.
coming
Thank
by,
you. Thank
and much success.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
was great.
Take care.